is Super Bowl week. It's a Thursday, not a Tuesday, but Mr. Josh Ungar, you had wanted more NBA on this show, and today we got it.
That is very true. I don't know anyone who saw this trade coming. It was on Sunday, February 2nd, just a little past midnight. Shams Charania tweeted, Luka Doncic has been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis, and the Utah Jazz were part of it too.
Well, in exchange, he also said, by the way, my phone is not getting hacked. This is real.
Yeah, because everybody saw it and was like, I think your account got hacked. This is like a parody account or something.
So, I mean, this will probably go down as the biggest / greatest trade in the history of the NBA, at least during the season. It may go down as one of the best trades of all time. Now, obviously, I think from a basketball perspective, LeBron James, Luka Doncic, very similar styles, both need the ball in their hands. We know the drill. But you say what you want about LeBron at age 40 right now. In my opinion, he's still a top 5 player in the NBA, at least offensively. I think him and Luka may be, 2 of the 5 best players overall in the NBA. And so for the Lakers to do that, I don't care what the reports out there about Dallas and Luka and his conditioning and all that. I get it. And I'm going to get into that here in a minute. But in my opinion, if you're the Lakers, to make this deal, yes, you had to give up Anthony Davis, but it was absolutely worth it. I think the Lakers are absolutely better, especially with the addition of Max Williams coming over from Charlotte. I think the Lakers are
Mark Williams.
Mark Williams, thank you. Excuse me. I think the Lakers are absolutely better today than they were a week ago.
When you trade for Luka, the guy that just led the Mavericks to the finals last year, took Dallas to the Western Conference Finals in 2022, a 5-time All-Star. Yeah, I would say you're better. And I don't get what Nico Harrison was saying for Dallas. Like, it's because he came in overweight and like they didn't like his conditioning and all this and that. Okay, so he eats a few extra cheeseburgers. He got you to the NBA Finals last year. What are we doing?
So, Josh, I like my sports theories. Every time something happens, you do this a little bit. And I think since I've been with you, I've been doing it more and more. Trying to figure out the reason behind something. So before I get to my theory on this trade, let me ask you a question. Were you ever a fan of the show that the former Dallas Maverick owner Mark Cuban was on, known as Shark Tank?
Oh, I love Shark Tank. It's one of my favorites. He's still on the show right now. This is his final season.
Yep. So I have a theory. We all know Mark Cuban is leaving Shark Tank at the end of this season. We also know Mark Cuban no longer has, major control of the Dallas Mavericks. He basically sold the team. He's not involved in personnel anymore. Mark Cuban, about four years ago, was quoted as saying, would you rather trade Luka Doncic or get a divorce? And Mark Cuban said, if I was forced to trade Luka Doncic or get a divorce, give me the divorce papers and give me a divorce lawyer because I'm not letting Luka Doncic off my team. I think this comes back to the new ownership. I don't think they wanted to pay the luxury tax. I think they're making all of this up about Luka's weight and his conditioning and his concern just because, to me, it was a financial decision. That's the way I see it. I think it's going to go down as a bad move because I don't think you can win a championship with aging Anthony Davis and aging Kyrie Irving, who are both, prime tall. So injury in their career. But I think it mostly had to do with they did not want to pay Luka Doncic the Supermax contract.
Plus, we saw last season, the pairing between Luka and Kyrie was amazing to watch. They were playing so well together.
Well, they got hot. Everybody remembers the trades they made along with Daniel Gafford and crew at the trade deadline because they entered in as what the 5 seed. They went for the Clippers, they went for Oklahoma City as well as Minnesota. And we all said that, this team, we didn't think that they could get back to the finals this year, but we all thought this was going to be a contending team. And as long as you have Luka Doncic on your roster, you are going to be an NBA Finals contender. Now, I was never like this guy that always said, oh, Luka was a top 3 or a top 2, or some people even thought at times he was the best player in basketball. I did not say that until last year because, as I've always said in the NBA, it's a prove it to me week. I needed to see Luka go through a stretch like he did last year, where he led that Mavericks team, which, let's be honest, did have no business making the NBA Finals, and he took them there.
That is true, but then again, Dallas had no business getting to the Western Conference Finals in 2022, and yet that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, totally. Listen, from the Lakers' perspective, in my opinion, the only team that they are no longer better than in the West is Oklahoma City.
Oh, I would still put Houston ahead of them.
No, Houston's too young. Houston's a year away, and I don't think Houston knows who their superstar is. I think Houston has a bunch of B plus to A minus players. Between Jalen Green, Sengun, and Ben Thompson, who's your number one? That's what Houston needs to figure out, and I don't think they know the answer to that yet.
It certainly feels like they believe it's Amen Thompson, but...
Well, I would disagree with that. I think out of all players, I would probably go Sengun and then Jalen Green and then Ahmed Thompson. That's just me. I like Ahmed, but to me, he's a little inconsistent.
Nonetheless, though, the fact that the Mavericks directly approached the Lakers about this, like they didn't even make a bidding war about this or
so people are making a big deal about it. I'll be honest about that, Josh. I actually think it was smart.
I don't.
No, think about this. If this gets out, you mentioned the Utah Jazz, the third trade partner in the deal. They did not even know they were trading Luka Doncic to the Lakers. They thought it was whatever, them moving pieces salary. They had no idea that they were part of the 3-team trade that would move Luka to the Lakers and AD to the Mavs. If this got out where, the Mavericks were shopping Luka, could you imagine if you thought the backlash was bad from them just trading Luka? Imagine the reaction of them announcing, hey, Luka's on the trade block or them shopping around. It's going to leak out, and then Luka's going to say, no, I'm not going here. I'm not going there. So I actually think the way they conducted it was the way you should conduct it.
And that's a fair argument, but all you got was a first-round pick, Anthony Davis, and a couple other players that are just kind of throw-ins.
Well, that's bad negotiating by the Mavs. I mean, that's, they should have got more than one first-round pick. I mean, what, Rudy Gobert went for 4 first-round picks.
Yeah, and we just got DeAndre Hunter from the Hawks, and I think we had to give up like 2 first-round picks.
Well, it's a pick swap, so we didn't really have to give up any. We just swapped picks in 3 seconds.
So... But that's still more than what Luka went for.
Well, again, that's why you negotiate behind the scenes.
It's just, I don't know how to explain this. I genuinely, don't
Now, here's the thing. If Kyrie and AD stay healthy, and you can throw in Klay Thompson in there, there's certainly the team of aging number 2 or number 3s that are all injury prone. If they all stay healthy, I think Dallas can win a round. I don't think they're going to totally be in the dumpster. I think they're still going to be a playoff team. But I think you significantly hurt your chances of making a significant postseason run, not only this year, but in the future.
I would agree with you there because, whoever their 2029 first-round pick is going to be is probably in high school right now.
So he's probably in 8th grade or high school. And the thing is about the NBA draft, I mean, look at this year's draft. We didn't even know who was going number 1 and number 2.
Yeah, exactly. And it ended up being Zachary Richardson and Alex Sarr. I don't even know what they're doing for their respective teams. Um, but it's just the NBA draft is not as impact right away as say the NFL draft is.
No, which is why it's so weird that these teams are coveting like 2031 and 2033 first. Like, how do you know what this player is going to be? He could be a total dump. He could be the next Wemby. I don't know what the draft's going to look like in 10 years.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Hey, speaking of Wemby, the Spurs even got more.
This is the trade that like happened and nobody cares about because there's other bigger trades. But this was a minor. I call it a minor major move.
No, but where I was going with that was like I feel like the Spurs Sacramento basically got more in return for De'Aaron Fox than Dallas did for Luka.
Well, again, that's because De'Aaron Fox publicly said, "I'm on the trade block. I'm not going to be playing for Sacramento." Which Sacramento went from a team a couple years ago who had real potential. They took on the Warriors in that first round playoff matchup with Mike Brown. They got eliminated in 7 games in that series. And it's like, that was their run. That's it. Let's blow it up.
Yeah, I don't get it. But the Lakers should win that division now. I would think. I don't.
The NBA has divisions. I'm joking. I know they have divisions, but I don't think anybody knows about them.
Yeah, at this point, the Lakers should win their division because Phoenix is a mess. Yeah, sure, the Warriors got Jimmy Butler.
We're about to talk about that.
But I don't think the Clippers are going to win that division. Although they're the top team in said division right now. I would think the Lakers are going to jump up and take that top spot, but maybe they can get to the Western Conference Finals, but that's about it.
Well, again, that's kind of what I feel like. I kind of feel like it's Oklahoma City versus the field right now in the West.
I'm not going to dismiss Houston or Denver right now.
See, and again, last year, I was all on Denver. Denver, to me, this year is very Jokic dependent. I don't think they're very deep. Like, I think the Lakers are deeper than Denver this year.
And yet, Denver still proves to be the Lakers' boogeyman.
Well, we don't know that now, right? How are they going to match up with LeBron and Luka? I mean, the weird thing here, obviously, with LeBron and Luka is the fit. But I think LeBron is going to play more off the ball. He's going to let Luka bring the ball up. Like, I think their games actually complement each other.
And that with this trade, the Lakers are basically saying, hey, this isn't LeBron's team anymore.
So, Josh, do you remember what I told you on the championship rings that we did when Bronny James got drafted by the Lakers?
I'm trying to remember what you said.
It was about LeBron. It was not about Bronny.
Yeah, I don't remember. Remind me.
I said that I believe LeBron James has privately told Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, and the Lakers press he does not want a Kobe Bryant-esque retirement tour, but that this will be his final season. And I think that with this addition of Luka, and by the way, for the record, we all know Luka's had some issues with his weight and complaining at the refs, and I even said last year throughout the playoffs that really bothered me. I think LeBron's going to help Luka clean all that up. I do think now with this LeBron and Luka transition, we are nearing the end. This could be the final 2-ish, 3-ish months of the 40-year-old and over 20-year career of, regardless of how you feel, a top player in the sport, LeBron Raymond James Jr.
Yes. I don't agree with that. I think he's going to stay for a couple more years to see how this plays out with him and Luka. But the moves that the Lakers are going to make for the future or from here on out are going to center around Luka. That's why I think they made the trade today with the Hornets for Mark Williams, because Luka likes playing with those types of bigs. It's why the Mavericks had so much success last season. Um,
And I
I
didn't
didn't.
know much about Mark Williams before the trade, so I did some deep diving on him. He can stretch the floor, he can rebound, he averaged 19 points a game. Like, that's exactly what they needed to replace AD up front.
Yeah. Didn't love that they had to give up their rookie Dalton Connect out of Tennessee, but
He's a good player, but like, he was what, eighth or ninth in their rotation. Like, I think to get a big man, which they needed, because that was the one concern with the trade, they were so small. I thought they were going to even try to make a bigger move and maybe try to dump Austin Reeves and get even another piece.
so that's where the speculation I think is going to shift to now that like these moves have been made. I think that's where the speculation shifts to. Not so much how long LeBron stays.
Well,
Uh,
what speculation do you mean? I mean, the trade deadline's over. I don't get where you're going with that.
so not for this season, but like I said, all the moves the Lakers are going to make either in the buyout market this season, off season, or seasons to come are going to center around Luka. Will that still work with somebody like an Austin Reeves, or are they
I
gonna
gotcha.
are
Okay.
they are they gonna have to involve him in a trade at some point in the future? Obviously not this season, to get a piece that will complement Luka.
So let's talk about Jimmy Butler going to the Golden State Warriors. The thing to me, which is the most fascinating part about this trade, I don't know if you read this. This trade originally was actually not Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors. And
It was
obviously,
actually Jimmy Butler to the Phoenix
Phoenix
Suns.
Suns, Kevin Durant to the Golden State Warriors, and obviously Wiggins going to Miami. And Durant, which I find, to be honest with you, very strange, decided to nix the trade, basically saying he didn't want to go back to Golden State. Is that a Draymond Green reason? I don't know. I mean, if I was Durant, I would think I'd want to get out of Phoenix and go to the place that I had the most success in my career. But Jimmy Butler to me, he will fit in that Golden State culture. He's a very good worker. We know what he wanted out of Miami. We know he will bring the best out of everybody there. I'm very interested to see how he clashes with Draymond Green. But to answer the question on the screen, Josh, this answer is no.
I agree.
Um, they're
I
they're
very much agree with you on
there's
this one.
like I think are they a tiny bit better? Yes. Is Jimmy Butler if he turns in a playoff Jimmy and Steph Curry turns back the clock? Could Golden State make somewhat of a miracle run to the Western Conference Finals? Maybe. I don't see it. I think they could probably win a round, but as I've been telling you, and it mostly has to do with the fact that they are still, kind of like the Lakers until the Lakers got Mark Williams. They're still very small, and I don't know. Again, it feels like Golden State is still trying to grasp that we're still in this championship window instead of fully embracing a teardown. Like, I actually think the difference between Kevin Durant and Jimmy Butler is bigger than people think. Like, I think Durant would have made a way bigger difference than Butler.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in stylistically. Because if you watch Warriors games, they they've kind of gotten back to being that up and down,
Yeah.
fast
And
paced.
obviously with Pods and Curry and the shooters they do have, they shoot a lot of threes, which is not Jimmy Butler's game.
That and also, like I was just saying, they're a very fast up and down type of team. And to reiterate what you just said, that's not Jimmy Butler's game either. He likes to slow the ball down, play in the half court, and do his work from there. So, how's that dynamic going to work? Is Golden State going to cater their offense to Jimmy Butler, or is Jimmy more so going to have to change his game to fit into Golden State's
It's
offense.
probably a little bit of both. Though I would say the latter is more likely, where Jimmy would have to fit into the Golden State. I still, to be honest with you, I don't understand what happened in Miami. Did he just decide one day I'm out? I don't understand. Like,
I don't know. There, it's so weird what's happening with Miami. Like Pat Riley has pushed like all of his big superstars out the door. It happened with Shaq. It happened with Dwayne Wade. One my second favorite player all time, only behind Kobe. Um, it happened with LeBron, and now it happened with Jimmy Butler.
yet the weird thing about that team is every time they kick a superstar out the door, they always retool and they get back to the finals. They may not win it, but Jimmy got into the finals twice. I think people forget about the 2020 team that made the finals in the Orlando bubble against the Lakers.
Yeah. Right now, if the playoffs started today, Miami would be. Hold on. Yeah, Miami is sixth. So they'd be playing the New York Knicks in the first round.
And I think the Knicks would probably win that series. Excuse me.
I do too, but I think it would go at least six.
Knowing Miami, yeah.
Um,
Where's Golden State at today?
Golden State right now, they're out. They're not even in the play-in tournament.
Yeah, I mean that's just the nature of the Western Conference. I mean, it's
Right
I
now,
I don't know, man.
the play-in teams are Minnesota, Dallas, Sacramento, and Phoenix. I think Sacramento will fall out.
Yeah. So
We'll
does
see.
Golden State just take their spot?
I don't know because you also have San Antonio, who I think is going to.
Yeah.
I love that pairing of De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama.
And Victor Wembanyama needs to get more primetime games so the world can see how great he is.
Yes. But in terms of Golden State, it's going to be interesting to see how. I get that the Jimmy Draymond dynamic is more interesting, but I think the Steph Jimmy Butler combination is going to be fascinating because we know Jimmy likes to have the ball in his hands, right? And
yeah. But also, like, Steph can play off the ball. Like, I don't know if that's going to be as much of an issue as yours, because I think that they're going to use Jimmy as the ball handler and run Steph off all those screens. Is kind of what I'm envisioning.
Right. Which I understand, but at the same time, like Steph is great with the ball in his hands, also. So,
but he's not a playmaker, is the thing. He can be, but that's not his game. His game is more off dribble shooting and catch and shoot.
Right. I understand that. But it's just like, is Jimmy going to be willing to pass it to him in those types of situations?
Well, and also, by the way, Steph didn't even bring the ball up in their prime when they had their championship runs. It was mostly either Durant when he was there or it was Draymond Green.
So it's just that dynamic's going to be very interesting. Will Jimmy be willing to pass the ball to Steph on those types of plays you're talking about where Steph is coming off of a screen and, like,
let me ask you a quick question. Can I ask you a quick question about Phoenix? I know it's not in the rundown, but it is kind of related to the Golden State thing. I was thinking about this today. So Durant Knicks going back to Golden State, which again I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. Kevin Durant has not been back to a conference finals since leaving Golden State. I was thinking about this today when it came to KD, and as talented as he is, he always seems to be in trade deals, and he even got moved last year at the deadline, or 2 years ago. I'm sorry, at the deadline by Phoenix. Is Kevin Durant the best player we've ever seen that is not considered an alpha?
Oh, I don't know. you could throw Giannis into that conversation, I would
But
say.
Giannis led a team to a championship. Like Durant's 2 championships are when you could make the argument between him and Steph, he wasn't the best player on the team. I would probably say he was, but there were people that are saying, and also, by the way, that was Steph's team. Durant has led a team to the finals. It was one time in Oklahoma City, very early in his career. But Kevin Durant, the last 5 years, I would make the argument, maybe we do a deeper dive on this and a deeper topic, that he's hurt his legacy.
I mean, I would say the move from Oklahoma City to Golden State hurt his legacy right there. And he hasn't been able to recover from that aspect.
Well, I would say he would have if he would have led the Nets or Phoenix to a championship. And the fact that he got traded, like, I don't know, superstar, like Luka got traded, yes, but Durant got traded and didn't make an impact. Like, Phoenix is still basically the same Suns. They're worse with Durant than they were with Chris Paul and Devin Booker without Durant.
Yeah, the addition of Bradley Beal hasn't panned out.
And I guessed that from the start. If you remember, I don't remember if we were doing a show back then, but I said that pairing will not work.
Yeah, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant have not panned out at all. I know there were trade talks surrounding basically Beal and Durant, but the thing is, Phoenix couldn't trade Bradley Beal. There was no way they were going to trade Devin Booker. So Durant was the natural piece to be in those trade talks. But the fact that he didn't want to go back to Golden State, that sends a powerful message to me. I don't know if it's Draymond. I don't know if it's the fact that, like, he would be back in that it's Steph's team conversation where, like he was before. It could be any of those factors.
Let me ask you this question. So we know Golden State has won pre-Durant, with Durant, after Durant. But none of us, since they won the 2022 NBA championship, has considered the Golden State Warriors championship contenders, legitimately. If Durant would have went back to Golden State and they won the title this year, does that help his legacy? Because he would have been the one to reinvigorate the Golden State dynasty and bring it back to life.
I genuinely don't know the answer to that question.
Isn't that, to me, like Jimmy Butler? Think about Jimmy Butler's legacy. If he does what Durant could have done.
Yeah. I mean, Jimmy has led two teams that really had no business being in the finals. He put them on his back and carried them to the finals in the Orlando bubble against the Lakers and in 2023 against Denver, which, like I said, they had no business being in either of those finals.
Okay, so I did not think that Kobe Altman was actually going to pull off a move, but he did. And DeAndre Hunter is now a Cleveland Cavalier, and I do not have to watch George Niang or Karis LeVert dribble the ball off their foot ever again. Thank God.
Niang was part of the problem on Tuesday against the Boston Celtics because I think our entire bench besides Sam Merrill forgot there was a game.
Well, I thought the bigger problem in that game was that Evan Mobley played like he saw the ghost of J.B. Bickerstaff and decided not to be the Evan Mobley he's been all year. But
yeah, and also Kristaps Porzingis should go to Broadway after he's done playing in the NBA because he's a great actor.
By the way, a little inside baseball for those of you out there. Our original topic for this segment was going to be takeaways from that Celtics-Cavs game until the Cavs made this move.
So, if you know this, I've been asking all season basically for the Cavaliers to go get a starting small forward because Okoro, he's decent defensively, can't score 10 plus points a game. He'll go some games where he scores 2.
Okoro needed to be sent off to Europe. I'm sad it didn't happen.
Yes. And Dean Wade in the starting lineup. Okay, it worked, but he's not.
Hold on. Well, let me. I'm going to stop you there because do you know this stat? Let me throw this out there. Since the Cavaliers acquired Dean Wade, when he is in the starting lineup and plays, they win 75% of their games.
Yeah.
When when he is not in the starting lineup or he just comes off the bench, the Cavs win only 50% of their games, and it's about half and half.
And he's become the Celtic killer. He might have made the difference on Tuesday, but who knows? And Max Strus, he's okay as the starting small forward, but
he's going to be excellent off the bench. I like moving Strus to the bench. I think he's a perfect six man. I've been saying it for the last year since we got him.
I actually think it's going to be Jerome that's going to be the sixth man, not Strus.
Well, okay, but Strus is still going to come off the bench. You get what I'm trying to say.
I 100%.
By the way, what a boost it is to that bench to have Jerome then, who is a scoring point guard, but he can pass, and have Strus.
Yeah, I agree. And you didn't really have to give up anything because Niang, he could hit a big shot from time to time, but not consistent. You do lose a little bit of scoring with LeVert, but he was on an expiring contract, so it made the most sense for him to be the one that got traded. I do like that we were able to keep our rookie from this year's draft, Jalen Tyson, because when he's gotten extended minutes, I really liked what I've seen out of him. Is he going to be a big time factor come playoff time? No, but when he's gotten playing time in some of these recent games, I've liked what I've seen out of him. So I really like this pairing, getting DeAndre Hunter, because now we can match up with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kyle Kuzma, Giannis Antetokounmpo, what New York can throw at us.
Yeah, that's the. I mean, the Kuzma deal to me, the Middleton, that one kind of came out of nowhere, and no one's talking about it. I don't know how he's going to fit into Milwaukee because I don't know what to make of Milwaukee.
I agree with you, but my point still stands. You need somebody like a DeAndre Hunter to match up with Tatum, Brown, and the likes of the others I mentioned. And plus, again, Tatum, Brown, Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart, all these guys are capable of scoring 20, sometimes 30 plus points a game. We didn't have a reliable scorer at that starting small forward. Now, I get that that's less of a priority when you have a Donovan Mitchell, when you have a Darius Garland, when you have an Evan Mobley. But what if, for example, Donovan Mitchell has an off night? He's not having his usual.
And he's going to have an off night, by the way, because Mitchell, even over the last 2 years, if you really watch those playoff games the Cavs are in, Mitchell, outside of Game 6 or Game 7, I should say, and Game 5 against the Magic, I have never felt like Mitchell really was the signature game in the playoffs.
But that's what I'm saying. So now, we have DeAndre Hunter who can still get you those 20. He's capable of getting you those 20 plus.
He is. Though, again, I think in this offense, like you alluded to, I think that you're going to ask him to put about 15 a night, put down about 4 threes, and defend mostly. I will say real quick, I got to give a shout out to a friend of ours, our former colleague. We worked with him at Cleveland Media, LLC, Clarence Wilson, because Clarence has been screaming for a legitimate wing for 3 years. When I was doing the All Thing Cavs podcast back in the day, you were on there a couple episodes with me. We debated for how many years that the Cavs needed a legitimate wing. And it took them 3 years to do it. But I think that this does signify this Cavs team, Kobe Allman, is saying we are going all in. this team is good enough to make a NBA Finals, not just Eastern Conference Finals. Let me stress that an NBA Finals run. And excuse me, what I want and what the league I think should want is not a Cavs Oklahoma City NBA Finals. We need a Cavs Lakers NBA Finals. The Cavs going up against LeBron James. Could you imagine?
It would be amazing. Um, if it's not Cleveland, Oklahoma City, I would personally want us to go against Houston. That's
I just want the Lakers just for the storyline because I don't think I'd be mad if we got swept. I think I would enjoy it so much. I think it would be one of the greatest storylines in the history of sports.
100%. Um, but it, I feel like the Cavs and Celtics have kind of separated themselves from the rest of the Eastern Conference. New York is still going to be there, but I don't see them getting past the second round, especially if they match up with Boston.
We need New York to play Boston and maybe not beat them, but beat them up, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Like, take them to 6, take them to 7, beat them up. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, like, could the Cavs match up against an Orlando team again in the first round where it's 1-8? Orlando gets healthy. I think the Cavs are better this year, obviously. But, like, I think one of these bottom teams, like in Orlando or in Indiana, in the East, I think they're sort of sneaky good. Like, the East is not as overall deep as the West, but it's kind of like last year where it's like there's some sneaky good teams at the bottom of the conference.
Yeah, plus you have Detroit in there also, which...
Yeah, but their coach, we know about their coach. That automatically disqualifies them.
And Toronto's trying to climb up the standings.
What the hell was that? But New Orleans just said we're giving up as a franchise.
I don't know.
What's Zion gonna do? Sit there and eat Oreos again and say, "Hey, I don't feel like playing tonight. We don't have." Why give up Brandon Ingram to Toronto of all places?
Yeah, as of right now, the play-in tournament teams are Toronto, Orlando, Atlanta, and Chicago, with Philadelphia, Brooklyn, and Toronto all kind of within striking distance.
And by the way, Atlanta's already beat us twice this year. Now I get, obviously, Atlanta's Atlanta. They're not that great of a team, but Trae Young can go off on any given night.
Exactly. So, if of those teams currently in the play-in tournament, I would preferably like to play Chicago or Detroit. Orlando and
I'd love to play Detroit. I'd love to sweep JB Bickerstaff right up our floor.
Yeah.
JB Bickerstaff made us all think Darius Garland and Evan Mobley can't play. I get they sort of came back against us last night. What a shot by Garland. And he hit it right in front of Bickerstaff. How great was that?
Yes. But
can you tell I don't like the former Cavs coach?
Yes.
I have made this perfectly clear over the last 2 years.
Philadelphia is the one team now.
Don't even start. They're done. I don't even care about Phil. There is a Philadelphia team I care about, and if you want to go there, that'd be a perfect transition.
Let's just go there. I do think your Eagles made.
Did you just say my cheat? I thought you were about to say my cheat.
Your Eagles made the wrong jersey selection, my friend.
Oh, you believe in that?
100%.
Well, we did win Super Bowl 52 in our midnight green jersey.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Oh, wait a minute here. What do we got here?
You don't believe me about the white jersey theory? Here you go. All the recent Super Bowl champions all the way up to Super Bowl 53. You ready? Super Bowl 40, white jersey. Super Bowl 41, white jersey. Super Bowl 42, white jersey. Let's see. Super Bowl 43, white jersey. Super Bowl 44, white jersey. Packers, home jersey, Super Bowl 46, white jersey, Super Bowl 47, white jersey, Super Bowl 48, white jersey, Super Bowl 49, white jersey, Super Bowl 50, white jersey, Super Bowl 51, white jersey, Super Bowl 52, your Eagles, home jerseys, Super Bowl 53, white jerseys,
Super Bowl 54, Chiefs, home jersey.
Super Bowl 55, Buccaneers, white jerseys, Super Bowl 56, white jerseys, Super Bowl 57, white jerseys. Last year, the Chiefs wore red. A majority of the time, if you are wearing your white jerseys, you are going to win the Vince Lombardi
The
Trophy.
majority of the time. And you know what the funny thing is? Guess who are the other teams outside of the Packers who wore their main color jersey? The Eagles and the Chiefs.
Yes, and the Eagles had the choice of wearing their away jerseys, but nope.
We haven't worn our away jerseys in a playoff game since the 2022, or no, since the Tampa game last year.
So that's part of the reason why I think you're going to lose.
Well,
I fully believe in that theory. It is. I don't even think it's a conspiracy theory anymore.
well, for the record, my Eagles have only wore their white jersey in the Super Bowl one time. They lost that game to the then Oakland Raiders in 1980.
Yes, but when you wore your home jerseys against the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 39, you lost.
I understand, but again, we did win in our green jersey in Super Bowl 52.
Yes, but as I just illustrated, that's an anomaly.
Okay, so let's actually get to the nooks and crannies, the nuts and bolts, the fascinating Chiefs Eagles rematch of Super Bowl 57, Super Bowl 59. And Josh, as I've been telling you over the past 2 weeks since we found out this was going to be the Super Bowl matchup, I think the key to this game is not Saquon Barkley. It is not A.J. Brown. It is not Devontae Smith. I think the key for my Eagles to win this game is going to be Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, the defensive line, and they put pressure on Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, because the one Super Bowl the Chiefs did lose 31-9, Super Bowl 55 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers just whooped the tail of the Chiefs' offensive line.
Yes, but that was also because the Chiefs' offensive line was severely injured.
Well, by the way, the Chiefs' offensive line is not that good this year. They're middle of the pack.
Yes, and I think it's their left tackle, Joe.
Yep.
Which is their weakness.
Tooney's going to play left guard. They have the tackle out there. That's the weakness.
Yes. And I think it's who's the guy they signed from Jacksonville last year to their offensive line? I forget his name, but he gets away with a lot of false starts off the top.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Jawan Jones, the right tackle.
Yes. So he gets away with a lot of false starts.
Well, in fairness, so does Lane Johnson, by the way. I will chop that up.
But no, the reason I'm bringing that up is because of this. I think if you put like a Jalen Carter against him, you're going to win that matchup because of the false starts he gets away with. I think that could give somebody like a Jalen Carter that extra boost he needs. That's just my thinking on that. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Again, I think that it is imperative for my defensive line again after Kansas City. The one thing I am worried about is, I don't know if you've heard about this. As you guys can tell, I'm still getting through my illness. I probably had the flu or something. Jalen Carter currently does have the flu. He has not practiced all week, and apparently there is a bug going around the Eagles locker room.
And it surprises you that it's happening when they're playing the Chiefs.
It's so I know, right? It does worry me. Listen, this thing's going around. I don't know if you saw, but Colin Cowherd fell off his set Monday when hosting the herd. He was obviously very ill. And no, Grandizer, I see your comment. I'm not getting all choked up. I just have a very weak voice. It takes me a second to obviously be recovering from what I've been going for the past few weeks. But with that being said, I feel that my Eagles have the better team. They have the better overall roster, the better offensive line, the better defensive line, the better skill positions. I think the only argument you can make that obviously Kansas City has is the quarterback position. I don't think it's as big of a gap as a lot of people do. You know my feelings on Jalen Hurts. I think he rises to the occasion when it matters the most. And I think that this Eagles team needs to set the tone early. What will worry me is if Kansas City gets an early lead.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. I I don't know if this Eagles team is built to play from behind. Granted, I think it depends how big of an early lead Kansas City gets. If it's only like a 10-0 lead for example, I think the Eagles can come back from something
I
like.
actually disagree with you. I think if it's more than a touchdown, I think we're in trouble.
Oh, really?
Yes. Because you're playing Kansas City, you're playing Steve Spagnuolo, you're playing that defense is going to bring a ton of pressure. And this Eagles team is used to trailing, but they're not used to trailing by more than double digits.
I still think you guys can come back from 10-0 at worst. But anything more than that, I think you are in trouble. But let's say you get down by double digits early. My biggest question is, will you stick with the run game? Or would that force Kellen Moore to not necessarily abandon the run game, because that is what's gotten you to this point, but would it force him to go away from the run game and lean more into passing and going to guys like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith? Do you get what I'm saying?
Josh, I think you answered your own question within your question.
Okay,
Um,
explain.
Basically because if you're down 10-0, you have to throw more. I mean, you're not going to run the ball down 10 points, but you're not going to go away from the run, but you're not going to run it the way you were. You can run it again when you're within 3, but that's the offensive philosophy, right? When we're down 10, we have to score right away. And I think the Chiefs are going to attempt to sell out to Saquon Barkley from the beginning. I think they're going to be unsuccessful in doing so. I think this Eagles offensive line, it is statistically the heaviest, weighs the heaviest in the league. They're going to wear on them. I could see very early, though, in this game, them taking a deep shot to an A.J. Brown or a Devontae Smith to show Kansas City we can for the football down the field. I actually like throwing it a little bit early in the game, open up those running lanes, and then just wear you down and let Barkley take over the second half.
So I just want to answer Grandizer super quick. Um, he asked, "What is the line right now?" Someone said it.
No, it's Kansas City by 1.5.
Yeah. According to ESPN, Kansas City is a -1 point favorite.
And by the way, that's some betting sites because it's been going down because some money is going to go on Philadelphia here. I have bet the game. I bet Philly plus 1.5. Obviously, I am on record. I think my Eagles are going to win this game 27-23. And before the year, when we started this season 2 of Championship Rings, August 28th, 2024, nearly exactly 6 months ago, I had predicted Taylor Swift was going to be in the box in New Orleans to watch her Kansas City Chiefs fall to an NFC team and not complete the three-peat. I think next Tuesday, right here on Championship Rings, it's going to be all green, baby.
I wish I could agree with you, but this is the NFL. This is the Chiefs. Roger Goodell can deny it all they want. They're going to rig this. The Chiefs are going to three-peat, and that's that.
Do you have a score prediction?
What? It was like 38-35
It
last
was
time.
38-35. Now, the over under is 47 and a half. I had them, or excuse me, it's 48 and a half. I had them barely reaching the over. I think it's about 50-51. I have it 27-23.
So I know Kansas City got 32 points in the AFC Championship, but typically when you watch their games, they don't get higher than like 20, like typically like 27, somewhere in that range. So I'll say it's a little bit lower scoring than you. I'll go Kansas City 24, Philadelphia 21.
Okay, so that would mean that you would have the under on the game. How do you think the game ends? Let me ask you that. Do you think it's the Eagles striving for a field goal, Kansas City gets a turnover? Like, what's the ending sequence for the game?
Um, since it was a Harrison Butker game-winning field goal last time, I'll say the Eagles are up 21-17. Mahomes has the ball. He throws it to Travis Kelce for the game-winning touchdown.
Okay, my ending scenario is it's 27-23. Kansas City is driving at the 2-minute warning. It's like a 3rd and 6 near midfield. Jalen Carter gets a big sack. They get the stop on 4th down. That's how the game will end.
Uh-oh. Grant Nizer says, yeah, I don't see Philly winning. KC has the tougher road to the Super
Well,
Bowl.
I mean, tougher road, it's debatable. Philadelphia played one more game. Philadelphia was in a closer game than Kansas City was. I mean, that game, if the Eagles go on to win the Super Bowl, the Rams game and the sack Jalen Carter made on that 3rd down play when the Rams were driving to go into the end zone, down 6 to potentially win the game. That game will go down as one of the greatest games in the Eagles' history. I mean, if Jalen Carter does not make that sack, you can make an argument the Chiefs are playing the Rams in this game.
Which we should have gotten that in Super Bowl 53, but the NFL said no to that.
Okay, let's talk about what this game means for the legacy of Patrick Mahomes. And you know what I'm talking about here, the GOAT conversation.
And this is part of the reason why I hate Mahomes. Because people are already calling him like, is he the next GOAT? And I'm just like, we just got off of this conversation with Tom Brady. Like, can we give it a little bit of a break? And nope, it's being thrust right back into our face again. So I'm sorry, but this is part of the reason why I hate Mahomes. But if he's able to do this, you have to consider him, I would say, like the 1B to Tom Brady, because nobody's ever three-peated in the Super Bowl era. Because we know the Packers did it. I believe it was like in the 50s or something.
Well, no, here's the thing. It was technically the year, so they won the first 2 Super Bowls. We all know that. They also won the year before the first Super Bowl. So they technically did three-peat. They just did not do it in the Super Bowl because the first year was the AFL championship.
Okay. So, like I said, Mahomes would be the first quarterback to three-peat in the Super Bowl era. He's done it with Andy Reid and Travis Kelce. Granted, he's done it with different offensive coordinators and a different cast of characters at the skill position group. I would say this is probably his weakest skill position group.
No, last year was.
Oh,
They have Hopkins, they have Hollywood Brown. Worthy, I think, is better than what Rashid Rice was a year ago. They have Pacheco and Kareem Hunt in the backfield now.
Yeah, but DeAndre Hopkins hasn't done a lot for them
He
since.
hasn't, but I mean, last year, what do they have? Rice, and that's it. McCole Hardman. I mean, they had Kelsey, but Kelsey's been the same as what he was this year.
True. So, okay, I shouldn't say they've been worse, but it almost feels like this year's skill position group is like maybe, I'll rephrase that, is maybe slightly better, not like 10 times better.
I
It's not,
think you're missing the point about the Chiefs' offense. It's not about their skill position players.
oh, I
They're just,
know.
they're
They,
just more efficient than anybody. It's what I kept telling you about Buffalo. The reason why they're so good, they don't turn the ball over. I mean, they have outside of that turnover that they had against Buffalo, they didn't have a turnover in 8 games. They are so efficient and they take so much time off the clock. They make it a game of possessions, and then you in your head are thinking, "Oh my God, we're facing Mahomes. We have to get a touchdown, and if we don't, the game is over."
yeah, that part I agree with you. Um, because you're right. This Kansas City team is not like what it was back in when they won their first Super Bowl during the 2019 season when they had Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey, and the likes of others. It's a very different offense now. They're not, I wouldn't even say they're an offensively driven team anymore. They're a defensively driven
They
team.
have been dating back to last year. I will say this, um, and then we'll get back to Mahomes quickly. I think the thing that people are missing about this game is everybody wants to talk about that Niners team from a year ago, how great they were. In my opinion, this Phillies team's better than that San Francisco team last year. Like, I think this is easily the best team Kansas City has faced in their Super Bowl run. Period.
I could I would hear you on that argument. By the way, both teams are looking to go 2-0 in terms of Super Bowl rematches because the Eagles won their rematch against the Patriots in Super Bowl 52, and last year the Chiefs won their rematch against the 49ers in the Super Bowl. And now we're getting another rematch. So one of these teams is going to be 2-0 in Super Bowl rematches. I think that's a storyline that not a lot of people are talking about.
So, when it comes to Mahomes, here's my thing. Before this 3P was a possibility, I was always the guy that was saying, no, Mahomes. Oh, excuse you, Josh. Are you all
Yes,
right? Okay.
I'm coming down with a bit of a cold myself.
You're doing the same thing I was doing. Well, hey, I'm not giving it to you virtually. I'm sorry about that. Okay. So Mahomes, before they had the chance to do this for repeat, it was very much, you know, um, I don't think he's gonna get to Brady. It's 7 versus 2, yada yada yada. But now that they have this repeat, and I get it, Brady beat Mahomes and then twice, I understand that. But Tom Brady has never had a chance to even go for a repeat. They never made it to 3 straight Super Bowls where they won the first two. Obviously, they made it to 3 straight in 51, 52, and 53, but they lost in 52. So, with that being said, to me, if Mahomes does this, he will do something that nobody else has ever done. He's already had more success at this stage in his career than Tom Brady has had in this stage of his career. His earliest elimination since he was a starter was the AFC Championship game, where in year 2 for Tom Brady, coming off the 2001 season, he missed the postseason. And so for me, I'm not going to say he's up there in GOAT status yet, but I don't think if they pull this off, if they get the repeat, I don't think he needs to get to 7 Super Bowls. I think if they win, 5 and 7 years, or 6 and 8 years, I think that will be enough because of the repeat. Like, I think we are seeing the most successful career for a guy this young in NFL history. Period.
So let me ask you this. If Mahomes catches Brady in terms of Super Bowls, is that all it would take for him to be the GOAT?
So you're saying if he doesn't get the repeat, but he reaches 7,
Yes.
Yeah, because he had more success early in his career. Now it depends on how long it takes him, though, too. Like, will he go through a 10-year drought of not winning another Super Bowl the way Brady did? I don't think he will, for the record.
That and also like you have to think about all the accolades Brady um piled up.
Well again, like LeBron, that's more of a longevity thing. But Mahomes is close already. That's the weird thing. Maybe not in terms of the passing yards. Obviously, he's going to play a lot of years to do that. But in terms of overall, like getting the AFC Championship games and winning divisions, historic stuff like that, like he's near what Brady and Belichick accomplished already over 20 years.
Yeah, and I'll admit this, and I think I've said this to you a couple times. I did not admit that Tom Brady was the GOAT until he went to Tampa Bay and led the Buccaneers to the Super Bowl. I'm
Yeah,
not saying
that to me, that to me, I've never understood. I thought he was the undisputed GOAT after the Atlanta Super Bowl.
because of all the um
I know because of the cheating scandals. That's the only argument you can make.
that but that's why I wasn't willing to admit Brady was the GOAT until I saw him go to Tampa Bay and do it away from New England. So, what does Mahomes get more like a bigger grade, I guess if you want to call it that, for doing it with one team? If he does get a three-peat, yes, I would give him a bigger grade or however you want to phrase it. Um, you know what I mean? A little bit or not really?
Yes.
Okay. Like, I know it's not a direct correlation, but part of the reason why I can't give LeBron the status of GOAT over Michael Jordan is because LeBron was too much of a team hopper for me. Like he went from Cleveland to Miami, back to Cleveland, now he's with the Lakers. Whereas like with Brady, you you think of the New England Patriots, where um
Well, and you think of Tampa Bay because he won a Super Bowl there.
yes, but to a I would say not as much of an extent that you do New England. Whereas with if Mahomes gets to the three-peat, as long as he stays with Kansas City, he's going to be synonymous with the Chiefs.
Well, he's always going to be synonymous with the Chiefs, even if he leaves Kansas City.
Fair. But I get that my reasoning is like doesn't have a lot of credibility to it, but it's what I'm going with.
Hey, Josh. Yeet.
I told you. I told you. I said it on this podcast last week. I said Jey Uso was going to win the Royal Rumble. And I was right. Thank
That
you.
was the greatest call in the history that I've known you. I'm not even counting this show. I did not think there was a living chance in hell Yeet would win the 2025 Men's Royal Rumble match. I especially did not think there was a chance in hell when he was the final three with Logan Paul and John Cena. I especially did not think there was a chance when it was him and John Cena as the final two. And long and behold, the Yeet man won. And before I let you go, I'm going to say something. So, Monday Night Raw was in Cleveland this past Monday at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. I was there. Friend of the show, Jalen Sandvik, was also there. We met up before the show. Listen.
City Boss was also there with a friend of ours, Brian.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you this. I was in the crowd the night after the 2014 Royal Rumble when it was Daniel Bryan was not in it. Batista wanted the Yes Movement. Josh, I have not seen a crowd that hyped for one wrestler since the Yes Movement. This is the Yes Movement. This is We Want Cody. This is Kofi Mania. This is all that all over again. This is Yeet-O-Mania. And Jey Uso is now over as a WWE superstar that I've ever seen.
So the big knock on Jey Uso, and to the same degree, I would say Jimmy was they they're not singles wrestlers. They're tag team wrestlers, both of them, because they've been a tag team together for so long. So it's understandable. But you look at somebody like a Kofi Kingston, for example, when he was the WWE champion and he was going on his singles run, he showed, oh yeah, I can be a good singles wrestler. You know, Jey Uso and Jimmy have both shown the same thing.
I don't know as much about Jimmy, but Jey for sure.
Um, from what I've seen on SmackDown, Jimmy has shown that he is a very capable singles wrestler. I think it's going to be him going against Shinsuke for the United States Championship at WrestleMania. That's my prediction right now, which I would love to see Jimmy Uso win that title. It would be amazing. But in terms of the actual Royal Rumble, I thought it was awesome.
Okay, good. Me and you both agree. I'm on record. I know, obviously, a lot of people didn't like Jay winning, so a lot of people thought this was the worst Royal Rumble match in history. Josh, I thought from what I've watched, so I'm counting the WWE Network days from 2015 to 2025. I thought that was the best Royal Rumble I ever watched, and I think it might be seriously the best Royal Rumble ever. Like, I don't think there was one bad moment in that match. I thought that was a special match that I talk about all the time. Usually, matches that we are hyped for under deliver. This over freaking delivered.
The I only have like 2 knocks against it, and this is just my personal taste. I really enjoyed the little feud between Carmelo Hayes and Jimmy Uso that's been going on SmackDown. So I would have liked it if Carmelo had been in the ring still when Jimmy came out. And the other thing, tying back into Carmelo, is I wanted Trick Williams in the Rumble because I think that match on the main roster would be amazing. I was surprised at the lack of NXT people in both Rumbles.
That's one of the things because you called me psyched out after Jay won on Saturday night, and we both talked about it. Technically, in the men's Royal Rumble match, there was only one return, and it was AJ Styles. And to me, it shows you the depth of the men's roster right now.
Right. Again, like I said, the 2 knocks that I had about Jimmy Uso and Trick Williams, that's just my personal taste. But I almost got Roxy right too because she was in the final too.
By the way, I said this on Tuesdays for In the World. If you look at Triple H's booking historically, the last few superstars in the Rumble, even if they don't win it, go on to have a huge year. I think Roxanne Perez is going to be pushed hard. It may not be till after WrestleMania, but I think she's going to be a champion by 2026.
I would, like I said to you and C-Boss last week, a feud between her and Rhea Ripley. Oh, that would just be the.
I think it's going to happen sometime down the pipeline.
And as much as I love non-title feuds, I personally like non-title feuds more. If you made Roxy versus Rhea Ripley before the championship, oh yes, please hook that to my veins. But that, like I said, or I want to get to this part now. Because it sounds like the plan for WrestleMania is a triple threat match. Roman Reigns versus CM Punk versus Seth Rollins.
I want them to add Drew in it and make it a fatal 4-way. It sounds like it's not going to happen, but that would be the direction I would go.
Yeah. Okay, since you brought Drew up, what do you think of all this chatter that we're hearing about him being genuinely upset about how he got eliminated and the fact that it sounds like it's going to be him against Priest for Mania.
It looks like it's going to be him against Priest, though I think the chatter about him being upset about him being eliminated is all troll. Because that's what Drew does. Remember that they reported that the night CM Punk returned, he stormed out and was pissed off and was going to leave the company.
Yes, I do. But it sounded like from what I've heard, like there were a few more spots that needed to happen.
It looked like Drew's elimination was not supposed to happen. It looked like it was supposed to happen earlier, and it just didn't happen. But so he could have been upset. But I think that it's overdrawn of how much.
Yeah. Priest versus Drew, I think that's a good WrestleMania feud. But given how good of a 2024 Drew had, I don't want to say that feels like.
And the fact just did it at Clash of the Castle in June. Like, it's also like Jay versus Gunther for me. I'm like, I kind of did just watch this like last week at Saturday Night's main event, and now all of a sudden it's going to be a WrestleMania main event. Like, I like to me, and I understand if you don't feel the way I feel. When this is kind of the way I'm feeling, I think Jay and Gunther should open night one of WrestleMania.
I could see that.
And I think Roman, Punk, and Seth should close. I don't think that match can go on in the middle of the show or the start. Like, I think that's going to be such a crazy match. Whoever follows that match, I would feel awful for.
I agree with you. I do think they're going in the direction of Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, which that's going to be a great feud.
Doesn't this year of WrestleMania feel like The Rock fucked up all the plans and now they're just going back to like match that happened a couple years ago?
It does, but you know what? Like, I'm kind of all right with them doing like Priest versus Drew because I feel like you can turn that into a WrestleMania moment because Priest cashed in on Drew to win the title at Mania last year. You can play into that.
By the way, then what are we doing with Randy? Like,
yeah, I know. I don't know. I don't know.
Like, does this become a triple threat with him, KO, and Sammy?
Maybe. What I was thinking. So here's the interesting thing. Charlotte Flair said she's not only going to go to on Raw, she not only said she was going to go to SmackDown to visit Tiffany Stratton, she also said she was going to go down to NXT to visit Julia.
I hope they don't do that.
Well, my point though is this. Whereas you have Charlotte Flair teasing that she could go after the NXT championship. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it is going to be her against Tiffany Stratton. Although they were teasing hard that it could be her against Rhea round 3.
I would rather see that than Rio against Io or Bianca. That's my personal opinion. I'd rather see Tiffy and Nia pay off their feud with a WrestleMania match. That's my personal opinion.
Okay. But my point, though, is this. Jey Uso has only said it's either going to be Gunther or Cody. He didn't say anything about Oba Femi.
Correct.
So I just think maybe I'm reading too much into something that's not actually a storyline. But I think it's interesting that Charlotte mentioned both the champions from Raw and SmackDown as well as NXT. And Jey Uso did not include NXT. He only mentioned Raw and SmackDown.
No, I agree with you. You know what I can't wait for, though? The moment when, and if this comes true, would be interesting. Jimmy Uso wins the United States Championship. Jey Uso, yeet, wins the World Heavyweight Championship. And Roman Reigns is without a championship.
Yes. And so is Solo Sikoa.
And that's where we're going. You know, and so here's the other thing that I thought about, and this is what somebody else brought up. How are they going to book this thing with Punk and The Favor and Paul Heyman? Like, what is this favor going to turn into? Because now I was thinking, and I know what the rumors say it's going to be a triple threat with Punk, Rollins, and Roman, but why don't we just do Seth and Roman and let Punk win the chamber and face Cody? I don't want to see Cody versus Cena. I know I'm in the minority. I just, for whatever reason, I don't want to see Cena versus Cody because I feel like there's no shot Cena would actually win that match.
Especially if they are pulling the trigger on a heel Cody.
Yes, which is why I think if it's not going to be Roman or Rock, I said it last week, it needs to be Punk.
As much as I don't like him, I would agree with you. I wish AEW had pulled the trigger on a heel Cody because I think he would have been great in there, but he screwed himself in AEW when he put the stipulation on that if he didn't beat Jericho, he could never challenge for the AEW World Championship again.
Speaking of which, what did you think real quick of the ladder match? Because I loved the ladder match. I thought it was very old school. And this is a little thing for me. I love the fact they did not use a chair. They did not use a kendo stick. They used ladders and step ladders. They did not turn a ladder match into TLC. It's not a TLC match. It's a ladder match. I love that.
I was very surprised that we did not get the return of Randy Orton during that match. I thought at some point both of them were going to be down, or better yet, I thought at some point both of them were going to be very wobbly, and then out of nowhere, no entrance music or anything, you just see this guy flying in, hitting RKO onto Kevin, RKO onto Cody, boom, it's Randy Orton.
Did you think for a second after Cody Rhodes hit the Alabama Slam on Kevin Owens through the wire that Sami Zayn was going to knock Cody off the wire? Because I did.
Yes. When Kevin set up for that devastating pile driver and Cody reversed it into that Alabama Slam, that was an amazing sequence. The finish was a bit anticlimactic, in my opinion.
I agree. It was weird. I kept waiting. It was like Cody was up there for so long. I kept waiting for something to happen, and nothing ever did.
Yeah, like I said, I thought if it wasn't going to be when, like what I said, I thought Randy was going to come out and push the ladder down or something, and it just kind of fell flat. But the match itself was amazing.
And quickly as well, I thought Motor City Machine Guns and DIY, I thought that was the best match they've had. I love the way DIY wrestled that match. I thought it was classic heel tag team wrestling.
My favorite part of that match, the Street Profits.
Yes, and by the way, can we say a triple threat ladder match at WrestleMania for the titles?
I don't know about ladder match because we just did that last year.
And you gotta always have a ladder match at Mania. That's sort of my thing. I like ladder matches at Mania. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the old Money in the Bank.
Maybe.
Overall, for 4.5 hours, that did not feel like a 4.5 hour show. That was a really well done. For 4 matches on the show, for that card to last 4.5 hours, that was a fun ass show.
Yes. And Indianapolis was great. It sounds like Indy is the front runner to host. I almost said Super Bowl. No, WrestleMania 43.
I heard SummerSlam first and then Mania.
Yeah, I heard New Orleans for WrestleMania 42 and then Indianapolis for WrestleMania 43.
I don't love going back to. I mean, I know the Super Bowl is there, obviously, but doesn't it feel like every couple of years they go back to New Orleans? I know they haven't been there in a while for WrestleMania.
I think the last time they were there was Super Bowl or WrestleMania 34.
It was, but that was a weird one because they were just there 4 years earlier for WrestleMania 30.
Yeah, I do wonder if the Browns actually build this dome stadium in Brook Park. How often,
WrestleMania 48, baby, here we come.
Do you think WrestleMania would come to Cleveland?
I'm not joking. WrestleMania 48.
No,
or 49.
my question though is, would it be, you know, like more than once, or would it just be a one-off?
That's a good question. I think maybe more than once, but I think it wouldn't be like, maybe it'd be like 48 and then 58 or 59. Like I think they'd space it out.
Yeah. So that's more my question, because like you look at, like, for example, March Madness, the men's Final Four, they seem to go to like Indianapolis and Houston and Arizona like all the time. Like they'll sprinkle in other cities, but it seems like it's those three. So I won. So that's part of my reason for asking.
All right, fellas, we gotta head out for the night. We appreciate all you guys for joining us tonight on Championship Rings. When we come back on Tuesday, I will hopefully, excuse me, not being in a somber mood. Hopefully, everything on these graphics will be green and we will be singing "Fly, Eagles, Fly." But until Tuesday, I'm Brandon Lewis, the host of Brandon's World. He is Josh Ungar, Ungar the Max, the host of this Sports Room Talk Show. Josh, Tuesday will be the last time we break down a football game until September.
Yes. By the way, we have two historic programs going at it tonight. The UConn women's basketball team is taking on Tennessee. And then I think it's later this month. I don't remember the exact date. You got UConn going against South Carolina. Hell yeah.
Pretty soon, obviously, here on Championship Rings, we're going to be talking women's college basketball, men's college basketball. Josh Unger is going to do our women's bracketology this year for the first time ever.
Yeah.
So, can't wait for that. All right, guys, enjoy the big game. Enjoy the weekend. Let's hope we have a party on Tuesday. And with that, we are out of here.
See ya.